Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of One Take because life has no rehearsal. Today, we're talking to somebody who definitely had no rehearsal whatsoever on everything she did. Something she pointed out, Renee is French for reborn, and Renee has been reborn, reinvented, re engineered, I don't know, dozens of times. Right now, Renee is the founder of the Fractional Referral Network. Today, she works in apart from dogs, she doesn't work at quieting her dog. Apart from that, she works in delivering leadership and consulting to high level people. But this is the last reborn. There's many other ones, and Renee is going to take us through them. So, Renee, welcome. Thank you very much for joining One Take. I really appreciate it. Uh, it's great.
Thank you.
It's absolutely great.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you, and it's always nice to chat.
And you've been great. And on a separate note, Renee actually survived my intense questioning when we were talking about my website, and she survived without wanting to kill me. So that means she's also very, very strong. So uh, let's begin with the obvious one because you've been reborn many times, as you mentioned, and you have reinvented yourself, which is probably a more professional term, many ways. So everybody at our age has had dozens of very decisive moments. One of the guests that we had at the podcast, Martin, he mentioned that even some of the decisive moments are opportunities we do not take. And he mentioned one that he could have been a millionaire, he didn't take it. So that was pretty bad. But we have been faced with tons of moments that anybody younger than us would say they're decisive. But tell me professionally, what was the one decisive moment that really created the modern Rene?
I think I had been working. I was a single parent. I was working in a very very toxic corporate environment, and I couldn't afford to just leave my job, so I had to I had to ride out a constructive dismissal for about 2 years, and it was not a happy thing at all, but it was actually a catalyst for a book I wrote on employee engagement, and it got me started in a corporate training role. I created a corporate training company where I taught leadership development. Initially, I was a marketing tool for other trainers, and then I because I would run public workshops, and then I decided I could do this myself, and so I'm constantly evolving, and businesses evolve. When you start a business, you might have an idea, and it may well evolve into something else, because as you get into it, you see other opportunities, or you see different things. And so this is how I've been rolling my whole life.
Yeah,
So here I am now with the fractional referral network, and that's
but
kind of where I
it's
am.
always great to escape a toxic environment. I confess, except for my last, I guess, year for Conan Building, I've never had toxic environments at all. I've been very lucky.
It's
Every major corporation that has employed me has told me be an entrepreneur within our corporation. Just invent stuff. Oh, and by the way, here's a check. So that joins, you know, best of both worlds, right? You make
call it
some
the
money.
lucky trees, Marcelo.
I'm very lucky. I am. So you like right now you're very involved in corporate training, but so two things, right? You mentioned something that I'm going to let you explain that you did for like 12 years, which I thought was like really fun. And then let's talk about your transition into corporate training because corporate training done remotely via Zoom. Wow, it would boggle the mind of somebody even 6 years ago, really. And now we see it as normal. Like
Yes.
you and I are talking on Zoom, we see it as completely normal. So first things first, tell us about your early youth teaching English. So that was pretty funny because I
Yes.
did the same
My
thing in Spain.
my very first career was teaching English. So when I was in university, I ended up with a job just by way of referral through other students. There were some. I was in a small university in a small town, and there were some students there from Libya, and I was asked if I could teach English to the wife of one of the students, and so I was paid by the Libyan government, which sounds really interesting. But I didn't think anything of it at the time. But I was paid by the Libyan government to teach her English, and we became friends. And they were a religious couple, and I ended up embracing Islam. So I wrote a philosophy paper on Islam, and that sort of got me into the religion. So I practiced Islam very devoutly for 12 years, which very few people know. But between
Now the world
1985,
will know.
now the world will know. Between 1985 and 1997, I was a devout Muslim. So I speak some Arabic. I did all of the things Muslim women are supposed to do. I wore the hijab and the jilbab and, prayed and fasted. And I learned a lot about Islam. So I'm actually very well educated in the religion. But my husband was not a strong man, and I believe suffered a lot of PTSD for having grown up in the West Bank. And it affected his ability to lead the family. And I'm a strong woman, and there's no place in that religion and culture for women who can get things done, because it ultimately emasculates the husband. so so I just decided, I made some terrible decisions to get myself into this mess. I was living in poverty. I had 3 children. And I needed to make decisions to get myself out. So I left my husband and my religion behind, and took off the hijab and went out and got myself back to school. And I ended up getting certified to teach English to adult immigrants. And I started doing that for a while. I had a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old who couldn't talk because he's autistic. No family around. So I had to rely on myself. I had to be strong. I had to be resilient. And so I think resilience is one of those things that it's a survival tactic. You either do or you don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's in all of us. We can be resilient, but it's a choice, and you have to have this desire to be bigger and stronger, and to move ahead in the face of everything. And it was actually a Dale Carnegie book that I read called The Leader in You that was the catalyst for giving me the confidence to go out and do my own thing after so many years. I didn't even know if I could be a normal Canadian again, living in that cultural bubble, So I congratulate. Here I am.
Well, here you
No
are,
worse
but
for
like
wear.
we are going, like here you are. It's 1997 to 2025,
Yes.
and you now have a successful company,
I
the
have the
Fractional Referral
fractional
Network.
referral network. Yeah. So I had a few other
How
things
did that
happen
happen?
along the way. I ended up with cancer at one point a few years ago. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and so when you go through cancer treatments, your whole life comes to a grinding halt. And here I am, single again, and but I don't have anything holding me back. But I'm 61, but at that time I was about to turn 60, and I felt like I have to do something. I'm not employable at my age. We don't get more employable as we get older, so you
No.
have to be able to rely on yourself. And I've had businesses before, so I've been self-employed off and on, my whole adult life, and so I thought, okay, I know what I need to do, and so I ended up. At first, I thought I would market. I would be sort of a marketing. I would subcontract the services of CMOs, but then I decided that's not really what I want to do. But what I did find out was that a lot of fractionals don't actually have complete business skills, so they lack sales and marketing combined. So even
Yeah.
if they're good sellers, they don't know anything about marketing. If they know about marketing, they don't know how to sell. My experiences throughout my career have given me a foundation for both, and so I can teach that to people. And my natural default is to teach. So I have a coaching certification, and I run coaching and training programs for fractionals within the Fractional Referral Network. There are tons of free tools for them also to access, and a community, because anyone who's been self-employed, and I'm sure you know this, Marcelo, you don't always have the support of people around you. Sometimes if you're surrounded by people who settle for less and are content to settle for less, then you'll be fed a lot of guff about, why can't you go get a regular job? Why can't you be like everybody else?
I'm not.
Just get anything, take anything.
Yeah,
Well, God damn it, I'm not a take anything person, and I don't want anybody to be a take anything person. It
yeah.
breaks my heart when I see the open to work sign on someone's LinkedIn profile. I think, geez, they gave up on their dream. And there goes my dog again. Sorry. Take one, take only.
Yeah, the other day I
I'm gonna
published.
lock him up, Marcelo.
No, no, don't worry. I mean, like, we love dogs. I had three dogs once in my house. My daughter's two dogs and my dog, and they were all sleeping in their individual beds in our bedroom. And I took a picture, and a friend of mine says, "Oh, that's the recharging stations for the polar bears." You know, but so here's an interesting thought. Like, I don't know, many years ago, tons of years ago, we had what I consider to be like one of the few adults in the media network. A guy from India called Kinjal Med, great guy, very funny, but an adult. And I love that because I'm not. I'm just old. I'm not really an adult. So he calls me up and he says, "Listen, have you ever heard of Skype?" Well, they have this thing and you can use video and we can have Teams video meetings. And I go, okay, that works, because at the time I was having weekly meetings with teams from all over the world. I was having team meetings with people in London and India, blah, blah, blah. But you never get to see them, right? So that changed my world. Fast forward to maybe 10 years ago. What you do over Zoom was absolutely, utterly unbelievable. Nobody could even visualize teaching people core skills like management, leadership, marketing, sales, all of that over Zoom. Today, we have sports classes over Zoom. There's people who teach sports over Zoom. I've never done it, but like, I go to a gym. But that changed, I think that changed the training world tremendously. All of a sudden, you were free to have clients anywhere in the world. You're in
Yeah.
Canada, but you could have a client in South Africa.
Yes.
Actually, I just spoke before you with a guy who does, like, marketing work and all of that, and he was in South Africa, and we just connected. So tell me more about how you embrace that change, because you have embraced that change.
Well, I was using GoToMeeting when in the days when I had my
Oh,
corporate
yes,
training.
I remember
In the
those.
days when I had my corporate training, I was already ahead of everybody else, because I would do live in-house training, and then I would have follow-up sessions online with doing a GoToMeeting.
I
So
remember go to meetings. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I was doing that stuff when it wasn't even sexy, and so I was country before country was even cool, and
I'm a
so
heavy
like
metal guy.
the transition to Zoom or Skype or like all of that felt very natural to me. If I have a preference between live training and training online, I'd take live training any day, because I love being in front of people, and the energy of people is very different in a classroom type
Absolutely.
environment, and you can manage people differently and better. And you can play physical games, and I love playing games. So, so I like, having these opportunities that you can't do it quite the same way
Yeah.
in online, but it's the being able to work remotely, however, is a gift in many ways, right? Because it opens the world up to you. So now, you mentioned that you have a potential client in Australia. I've worked with people who, they're Canadian and they've got clients in Australia. So like the world doesn't matter anymore. The borders don't matter. as long as you're willing to get up at the right time of day.
Yeah, I had that. I had that. We talked it over, Kinjal and I, and we said, okay, so 1 week you're done. The next week it's my turn to be toast.
Okay, yeah,
So
that's
some
nice.
weeks we talk at 10 a.m. my time, 10 a.m. his, 10 p.m. his time, some of them. But it's I think it's great. It's opened up borders. I'm sad that some people don't see the world as broadly as we see it. I see the world as like, hey, you're here, big deal. I don't
Yeah,
see borders. I honestly don't see borders. And I have my own theory about socioeconomic levels and cross-border likeness. So, but and then to kind of finalize, because it yes, you said something very right. We're not more employable as we get older.
no,
However, at the same time, if you look at it, there's a lot of 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds running things. It's a lot of old people running stuff. But it only happens at that level, and then everybody else, like just below it, they seem to be not measured by the same standards. So
yes.
yeah, Warren Buffett is like 152. Great. Oh, well, you're 60. Oh no, you're not worth it. Well, wait, but Buffett is 152. I mean, like seriously. So let's say you were, and you do this probably more than anybody else. Let's say you're consulting with a CEO. The CEO is interviewing some candidates for, like a really high up position. The CEO is looking at candidates who are like 30, 40, whatever. What do you say about somebody who's like 60? What is the tremendous value that, people who are 60, I'm not even going to say people like us because I am not 60 at all. And I haven't been 60 for years. But, what is the value we bring to a company?
Other than the obvious level of experience and wisdom and so on, I think more than let me back up a little bit. I think that what I remember being on that side of the desk where I had to hire people, and I was in my 40s or whatever, and the people I was interviewing were in their 50s or more, and thinking I couldn't lead somebody who was older than me. And what, I think that that's probably why older people don't get hired. One of the big things. It's not that they're not seen as valuable. It's that they're not sure they can lead someone who is older than them. And so I think that maybe the value is often that they can be led, and they've worked long enough that they know how to lead and they know how to follow.
That's
So
very insightful.
you don't have to be running the company at 60 something. You can still be an employee, and have a senior manager or whatever. But I know companies that do hire older people, or they bring them back as consultants or whatever, and they are reporting to 35-year-olds. There's no pain over that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Your ability to get along with people, if you've had 40 something years of work experience, working
Hard
in
to
a
get along with people.
company, you've had a lot of shit that you've dealt with people and policies, and you've seen a lot of changes and a lot of things. You provide that insult, but you buy insight, but you also have built in resilience because of it. And the ability to lead, the ability to follow is just as important as the ability to lead. And when you've been working with, people for 30, 40 years, you certainly have hopefully developed the ability to both follow and lead.
That's an excellent point. And well, Renee, thank you very much. On the personal note, I will send you a copy of my website when I finally
Thank
get
you.
the tripods back from my
Thank
client,
you.
and I
I will
can take a
share
picture.
everything. Yeah. Thanks so
Great.
much,
So
Marcelo.
thank you very much for joining us. It's fantastic. I absolutely admire you. So
Thank you.
we'll see you
Likewise.
around.
Okay, you have a great day. Have a wonderful
Thank
day.
you.
Talk to you
Bye
later.
bye.
Bye.